Hey, good evening, everybody. It's John Wayne Mullins. I'm Mr. New Dad, and today is day 41 of my 100-day challenge of going live each and every night. And tonight I'm continuing to talk about creating healthy boundaries. If you caught me last night, we were talking about a book that I've been reading and gone through called Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and John Townsend. And this was a hot topic from my webinar last Saturday. And if you haven't caught it, let me know and I'd be happy to send it over to you, as well as the discussion, what we were talking about last night about creating healthy boundaries, especially when you are becoming a new dad, or if you are a new dad, or even if you are a parent and you've been a dad for several years. Establishing healthy boundaries is something I think that is never going to stop. You're always going to have to be prepared and be cognizant of boundaries, especially as you progress in your careers, as your family grows. You're going to have to know where those boundaries are. And I think it's something that I obviously I have a 7-month-old son, so at this point yet, but I think as children grow and become older, I think it's something that, between you and your wife, this is something that you are going to have to be really, I think, even more intentional about setting healthy boundaries, because, right now it's easy, it's simple. There's still a lot of growth, I would say, for most dads who are watching this, especially if you're a new dad. You're trying to develop healthy boundaries for you and your family right now. We haven't gotten to the point where you're trying to establish healthy boundaries for your child at who is 10, 12, 14, 15 years old. We haven't gotten there yet. So, but tonight's message is focused towards the new dad, specifically in that 0 to 2 range. But if you're more than happy to contribute, and I certainly would appreciate those older dads who've been around the block and maybe a few years down the road from me, to hear about what boundaries you struggled with, or what boundaries that you really had to be intentional about in those first couple years as you transition and as you became a dad yourself. And so I have 4 questions I'm going to be sharing. Again, this was a hot topic that what we discussed in depth over the weekend, and so I wanted to do some more research and kind of find out some better questions to ask, so I can certainly help myself, but also so I can serve the dads who are listening and watching this. So let's begin. The first one, when it comes to creating healthy boundaries, again, we were talking about this yesterday about why healthy boundaries, what are they, and how they're really being mindful of you, and it's almost like a thoughtful gesture for yourself, because you are trying to protect something that you have, and that's your time, that's your family, that's your son or daughter, that's trying to protect and honor what you are trying to do, but also give yourself that room for you to grow. So it's certainly something to be mindful of as you are becoming a new dad. First question I wanted to ask is, what do healthier boundaries currently look like to you? Some people have never even may have thought about having healthy boundaries in your life. But as I become a parent, as I became a father to my son, it's something that I had to be very intentional about setting. I currently work from home. I work with a lot of clients one-on-one. I do some group training from my home office. And so I had to draw these are my hours. This is when I'm working. This is what I can and can't commit to. I had to, share my calendar with my wife so I could see when appointments are and when we can work together. So, if my son has an appointment or something like that, I need to have that boundary so I'm not double booking myself. Or it could even go as so far as having conversations with your clients or having conversations with your team. I work with some teams, and letting them know, like, hey, I'm in this new season of life. I just became a dad, and I am really limiting my work right now, or I'm not going to be committing myself like I did, a year ago, because I'm trying to honor my wife. I'm trying to serve my family, serve my wife, and I want to make sure that that is something that um, I'm not putting myself into where my time can be taken for granted or be abused. So, and I just realized I spelled healthier wrong. But what do current what do healthier boundaries look like to you? Where do you need to establish them? Only you know the answer to this question. It's a hard question to ask, but it's a powerful question. And if you would like to have a conversation or a coaching call with me, I'd be happy to, get on the phone with you and help you establish those boundaries that may be impacting you and your family, your work, your business, wherever those boundary lines either may be or are. It's a great question to have an answer to, because in that answer is action. The second question I'd like to talk about is, where do you need healthier boundaries? Um, Oftentimes, we don't, again, some people may have never thought about this before, but when it comes to establishing and creating healthy boundaries, where do you need them? If you're a new dad and you work a full-time job and you're involved, you're taking care of your health, you're taking care of your spouse, your family, you volunteer, you have all your commitments. Where do you need to back off? Where do you need to say, you know what, that's a nice to have, or I may have been able to contribute to that when I was single or when I didn't have a son or daughter, but now I need to kind of readjust and maybe learn to say no to some of those things that I was volunteering for, or hanging out with, going the driving range or going golf, 4 or 5 days a week. That would be nice. But the point is, where do you need to establish healthier boundaries so you can grow in this season, so you can help mom at home, so you can help, create that bond with your son or daughter? Again, here's another powerful question that only you can answer. So it's a powerful one, but if you want a worksheet like this, or if you want to work through this, I'd be happy to help you kind of come up with these answers and come up with an action plan. Number 3, this goes to the person, the new dad, who may have boundaries already in place. I was 39 when I had my first son, my only son, and I'd like to think that I had pretty strong boundaries in place, but when I had a son, or when he was born, I had to make a lot of shifts in my calendar, in my time. I was volunteering a lot on a couple of nonprofit boards, and after this year, I'm like, hey, I can't commit 10 hours a month, or I can't commit 2 hours a week to that, because it's just taking up too much time. Or here's another great, boundary line is, if you can meet virtually, why not? If you now it doesn't replace that one-on-one interaction or that in person, but if you can have meetings virtually, it's a great way to again have a boundary line saying, hey, I need to honor my time because I'm trying to accomplish these things. You're trying to grow in these areas. Again, it's just an example. So how do your current boundary lines or boundaries need to change, and where? Um, Again, another question only you can answer. So the fourth and final question is, once you kind of go through this, you answer the question on, what do boundary lines currently look like? It's fair. Where do you need to have healthier boundaries? How do your current boundaries need to change? The fourth question is, once you kind of go through there and answer those questions, what are you going to do about it? What actions can you take today to start, putting the stake in the ground and saying, you know what, I'm going to stop talking about it and I'm going to be about it. So what can you do today to say, hey, I'm really going to take myself serious, or I'm really going to take this role serious. I want to be this. I want to serve my wife. I want to help out more. I'm going to learn to say no to things that I've always said yes to. And that's a big thing, guys. I know how hard that can be sometimes, especially when you have pressure from your boss, or you may have pressure from your culture or your work or your company that says, hey, you're a senior executive, or you're the senior blah, blah, blah. And we need you to take this on. Well, especially if you're in a leadership position, delegate, or bring up those people behind you, because your life is changing, and you're going to have to learn how to work on a team. You're going to have to learn how to say no, because if you consistently continue to say yes all the time, you're going to, like I was talking about the other day with the rubber band. If you are stretched too tight, nothing's going to get done, and you're going to break. So you need just enough creative tension so you can continue to grow. But if you continue to say yes, you're never going to have any opportunity to say no. So learn how to say no to the things that really don't need you. If there are other people, I'm a big fan of Clifton Strengths, especially if these aren't your strengths and your talents, and they're your coworkers or your team, or someone else. Learn how to say no, but then learn how to empower other people to say, hey, Steve over there, he's really good at this, and he loves this. He can do a heck of a job, better job than me. So I'm going to punt this over to him, and allow him to take this role on. So that way I don't have to, because I'm trying to, be at home, or I'm trying to honor my schedule or honor my wife, whatever that may be. What can you begin to do today? So I hope this has been helpful. I'm going to continue to talk about this, because I think my next webinar is going to be on this topic. And so be on the lookout for that next webinar invite. And if you're not following me on Telegram yet, look for Mr. New Dad. I created a public channel. And so I'll be putting a lot of these videos over there and having more in-depth discussions. So again, if you caught the replay on this, just let me know with either hashtag replay, or if you're catching the live. Again, I continue to appreciate all the comments and emails and the feedback I'm getting. So thank you. And so until tomorrow, be well, be awesome. Have a good night, guys.